Hello, my name is Dave, and I'm going to be talking to you today about managing ACT therapy in different crisis situations. And so, if you go to the next slide, and so I'm going to show you how to use acceptance commitment therapy concepts to empower your clients to begin to live happier and more fulfilled lives within different crisis situations.
Okay.
This lesson plan will focus on helping you apply ACT therapy concepts to comprehend and teach others how to move away from negative thoughts and feelings and to move towards important to them and through taking action. So you move away from things you don't want and you move towards things you do want. And so the learning outcomes, I thought that maybe you could each read one of the sentences. So from there, if you could read.
Okay. Identify specific ACT methods that client can use when faced with crisis, and determine that ACT methods is appropriate for specific type of crisis, and show client how to use ACT methods ongoing by helping clients to create specific goals to work on after counseling session.
Thank you. So what is a crisis? Crisis is defined as a critical time, a turning point, choice between danger and opportunity. So what it is that bad things happen to good people. And a crisis, that something happens to us that we don't want. But we have choices. Either in a crisis we can have something reacting to it as, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I'm feeling overwhelmed. I want to escape, to, okay, it's a crisis. What are my options? What can I do in order to improve? The goal of ACT therapy in crisis: increase psychological flexibility, contact with the present moment, and be a fully conscious human being. Results: ACT aims to create a rich and full and meaningful life while accepting unpleasant thoughts and feelings that go with it. And so it's accepting what's going on rather than pushing it away and avoiding it. What's really important is research has shown that ACT therapy improves the quality of life for those of us that experience unpleasant thoughts and feelings by reducing disability, depression, and anxiety. So ACT research has demonstrated that it actually works. So first I'd like to get to know you, and so I'd like for you to introduce yourself and just say how you got your name.
Start with me.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Xiang Gani. It's come from Chinese name Xiang. The meaning of it is smell nice.
Mm-hmm.
And my name is Oni. And
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
my real name is Virjani, because when I was baby, I always get sick. And my mom give me my nickname Oni, and then make me get better and health.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Okay, my name Lily. My name is mean like a flower, Lily. It's been pretty, it's beautiful.
Oh, that's special.
Like the flowers.
Special, it's flower.
And so what I'd like to do next is that we already defined what a crisis means, but I'd like for you, as I hand you this beach ball, share a word that describes what a crisis that a friend of yours has been through and what he or she did in response to it as you are handed the beach ball. So lots of times at work, when someone goes through a crisis, bad things happen to good people, and sometimes it could be even having an argument with someone, or they were abused when they were young. And so how they handled it was they would stuff it inside and they would not deal with it. And they got into numbing through drugs and alcohol. So I would start with you.
A friend of mine sharing that she knows someone that is very disorganized, and it's been going on for years and nothing changed.
Okay. And what's one that you know of?
About my friend have son, she always complaining about son, about always like he's liar and he's stubborn and always say yes but no really yes, except yes or no, the same thing, always liar many times.
That's mine.
And for you?
I have friend, they like the gambling and try to stop but cannot stop for gambling.
Thank you. Oh, that's all right. So, I'd like to describe a beach ball. You go ahead. Is that what we try to do, like what I said, is when you feel upset and bad things happen, you stuff it, but you don't know how to get it out, so it's like you blow in the beach ball and it gets bigger. But sometimes it's when someone's disorganized and you're trying to teach someone how to help them, sometimes they can get frustrated. Or when someone lies a lot and you're trying to help your friend, say, hey, how can you encourage them when they lie to you? And gambling, someone that's struggling with going to the casino, and you're trying to encourage your friend how to be supportive of him, then a lot of times it's difficult and it's kind of like stuffing it inside. And what happens is that it gets so big it pops up at the worst times.
Explode.
And you explode. And so what ACT talks about is accepting it and looking outside rather than inside, accepting the current moment, not thinking of the past, not thinking of the future, but just what's going on in the here and now. Then it's seeing the person as a totality of who they are, helping empower your friend to see they're not just a liar, they're not just a thief, they're not just a gambler, they're not just disorganized, but they have good qualities in them as well. So I'm going to briefly explain the 6 core processes of ACT therapy and discuss the various crisis situations, and we will discuss the significance of ACT and the application to the crisis situations. Acceptance. Acceptance is the ability, once you've gained some distance from your sticking thoughts and feelings, to make space for them and to do what is important for you to do, and give up your to not give up your goals, but to engage in the action. So what it means is that a lot of times when we're faced with a crisis situation, when you go in the house and everything's all over the place, or when you're helping someone who comes to you and says, look, my friend or my child keeps coming home and is fired again, and they're not telling me the truth about where they're using their money. and I'm feeling frustrated. So how can you help counsel your friend, or even help someone else counsel your friend that is going through some of those circumstances? And so first is acceptance. And as I said, distancing yourself, because when we look this way, what happens is we're overcome. It's kind of like with the beach ball, we feel like, oh my goodness, all I can see is the situation,
Too close.
too close. So when we put it here and we get away from the situation, then we can look at it more objectively. Contact with the present moment, the here and now. What's going on with today? If you think about helping your friend see, you know what, in a car, there's a windshield, right? What's above the windshield?
Mirror.
The review mirror.
The review mirror.
And how big is a review mirror? It's small. Because you're looking forward at what's going ahead, and you're aware of what is in the past, but your focus is on what's here and now. And the same thing with these situations, with the person that is struggling and coming to you, I'm so frustrated. Why does he always come to the casino? You can tell your friend, just think about today. What is he doing today? How is he being able to manage his life today? And how can you empower him rather than keep bringing up a lot of times, oh, the past, he always was doing this, or he's always doing that. But if we say, what is he doing today? How can I encourage him to make good decisions today? Then we're not bringing up the past. And a lot of times we label ourselves. This is who I am. I'm disorganized. I have a big D on my forehead. And a lot of times when we go and try to encourage someone, we try to help them to see that person has redeeming qualities. They're not a big D. They're not someone who is an F that's always failing, or someone who is a C for someone who's always going to the casino. But to see them in the totality and to help counsel someone to empower them in their strengths. And values. We all have values. Values are important in that everybody has what's like the spiritual side of them.
Strength.
Hmm?
The strength.
Yeah, their strength. Like their values can be, what do I value in life? What do I want to do? Nobody woke up and said, I want to be disorganized. Nobody woke up and said that I want to
Drink.
be fired. No one woke up and said, I want to struggle with addiction. What happens is they use it as coping mechanisms to try to feel better. And so by empowering others to see that they have redeeming qualities and that they have values to help nurture their values rather than judging, like I said, what's around the face, because what happens is we see this that frustrates us and that's all we see instead of being able to see in totality. So you're helping others counsel and share, hey, this isn't all of who they are. They have values, they have strengths. And then finally, if you're going through the acceptance, if you're going through looking outward rather than inward, if you're being in the here and now, and if you're being able to accept the person in the totality of who they are. And then if you're empowering people to look at their values, and then you're able to help them make better decisions in their lives. And that's ACT therapy in crisis. Clients often present with a goal of erasing the past of pain associated with it. So a lot of times that you're counseling someone or you're helping others to learn how to counsel, and what happens is that the goal for many people is that they want to just avoid, they want to deny, they want to erase, they want to minimize. I'm not so bad, I don't do that. Or you're helping them by embracing, accepting, distancing themselves, looking outside in, and being in the here and now, and being who am I becoming rather than who I think I am, based on what I desire in my life, and then making committed action of doing something different. And this is one of my favorite metaphors that kind of depict that it's a dentist metaphor, and what it talks about is, think about if someone went to a dentist, and everybody can think about tooth pain. It hurts so much, and all they want is to feel better. And so a lot of people, what they do is that you go to a dentist, and the first thing he does is put a needle in your gum. And you realize that the pain goes away. Now, what is the difference between just sitting there and feeling better, talking to the dentist, but he never does any work, to going to a dentist and having him pull your tooth or drill? What do you all, can you see the difference? And so,
The pain never go away.
exactly. And that's what a lot of us do when we avoid, when we deny, and when we don't deal with our present problems. And so when people come to us and say, how do I start healing? How do I start accepting? How do I start moving on? It's through healing, through first, like this says, choice of accept pain but avoid the pain, or allow healing to occur. So the process is embracing, accepting, this is where I'm at, and looking from the outside in, staying in the present here and now, and accepting this is who I am today, but that's not who I'm always going to be, because I'm becoming different because I'm allowing healing to occur in my life. And now I'm finding out I really don't want to keep gambling. I don't want to keep being unorganized. I don't want to keep being lying. Exactly. And so we're helping people to move forward and empower others to help them to move forward through these interventions, rather than getting, what do we usually do? What are responses if someone's always lying? We get angry,
Yeah,
Right.
frustrated,
no trust.
no trust.
Anymore.
Exactly. So go ahead. So what I'd like for you to do is write down a situation people go through. Take 1 minute to answer. Then share your answers with someone close to you. Then we will come together and discuss our answers, what has not worked, and how can ACT therapy help.
Okay. We have to work together.
Terus,
I think
siapa ini?
Ngomong tentang
tuh.
Masing-masing tadi kan nulis tuh.
Iya,
Kayak situasi masing-masing klien teman kita. Our
Yang-
plan
yang nggak bohong.
dan apa yang sudah kita lakukan tapi tidak pernah
Dilakukan,
uh,
dilaksanakan.
tidak pernah manjur.
Nah,
Dan apa yang harus kita sarankan melalui act terapi? Okay, I think
So go ahead.
with the situation of someone that is disorganized, many times that if we complain or yelling or criticize, because that person is always why, questioning like why they are disorganized, it's never help. And I think the act therapy that it's maybe help for them is by letting them know that they have to know their limitation, that they are disorganized, and what can we do to help them, to see them as from distance.
Good.
As
And what would you say, Oni?
so I think for the people lying, I have to tell them, if you keep lying, nobody can trust. So when you gonna happen like an accident, say, oh, I got an accident, I say, nobody can believe it because you got an accident, real accident, or you lying, people can believe it. So I need to tell many times, if you wanna people believe with you, you have try to tell the truth. No, not telling about lying. That's all.
Good. And what did you come up with, Oni? Lindsay?
Yeah. For the top friend like to gambling, go to casino, try to talk to them for the closer to God, and make a relationship with someone they can trust. Right? So make them try to do something like watching movie, make busy.
So you all came up with how to help people counsel these situations and how to be effective therapists, because every day we'll come into contact with people that are in crisis. And so the next one is the first one that I had of the learning objectives was identify specific act methods that clients can use when faced with a crisis. And so what have you learned? If you could each maybe choose one of those and discuss what you have learned.
I think for the crisis that my client has, they need to be self-acceptance, and then for people that is disorganized, so they can move forward. And I think for someone who keep lying and everything, they need to have values, because they have a good side and they have to focus on their values. And for someone who's gambling a lot, they need to distancing themselves from what make them gambling. Instead of spending money for gambling, they can spend it for not spending money, by doing something that is more enjoyable, by watching movie and something, I think
Very good. Any comments of each of you?
So when the people like stubborn, keep lying, is something apa ya? Kayak
Someone that is always stubborn,
Mhm.
that never
change,
uh,
change, always continue. Itu termasuk disable apa?
that we always telling them but they still doing it over and over again.
Itu termasuk
And
So-
what kind of person? Like, is that disability or just a crisis?
So sometimes it's helping therapists to empower people to be more patient with those that are struggling with limitations.
Oh, berarti kita harus lebih, berarti kitanya yang harus lebih sabar menghadapi seperti itu. Kalau jadi kalau kita ingin orang itu benar-benar berubah, ya kelihatannya kan berulang-ulang. Lah kitanya sendiri gimana? Apa kita sudah cukup sabar bantu mereka?
And finally, for the third question, or the third learning objective, help others to create specific goals to take action in moving towards rich, full, and meaningful lives. And what I did was, how can we create goals so if people come to us and they say, hey, I'm struggling with someone who's disorganized, I'm struggling with someone who's stealing, or lying, I'm struggling with someone who's gambling, then how can we write goals so they don't keep coming to us, but they can empower themselves and they kind of outwork us, that they don't need us any longer because they're using these skills themselves. And so an example is accepting self. How can we encourage others in acceptance? Look from outside in, as I said, that we're not looking that this is ever before me, but that we're able to look at things more objectively. And being in the here and now, not the past or the fear of the future. And self-acceptance. I'm okay just the way I am. Empowering others to say, look, you're okay. You just are working and you're a person in progress. And values, what are your values? What is it that is redeeming qualities that you have? And then walk forward, move forward, and don't let things overcome you, stumble you. You remember that when you stuff it in, it comes up at the worst times, but when you actually are dealing with your issues, it gets smaller and smaller until it's not an issue anymore, and you're able to move forward. So, what was your whole feedback and your understanding of this lesson today?
That we have empowered someone from their crisis and being their supporter, that they need to have value and move forward and focus on the present in order to keep going to, if they want to change and move forward in the crisis.
Very good. Do any of you have any feedback of what you learned today?
Ada saran atau ada masukan? No?
Udah.
Okay.
Ya.
So, thank you so much. Michelle.